like to call to order the Proctor City Council meeting for Monday, April 1st, 2024. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Perform roll call at this time. Councilor Benson.
Present.
Councilor Reuter.
Present.
Councilor Johnson.
Present.
Councilor Dwell.
Present.
Mayor Ward is also in attendance. Please let the minutes reflect all others. Megan Jordan. Looking for a motion to approve the City Council meeting minutes from Monday, March 18th, 2024.
So moved.
Councilor Reuter made the motion, seconded by Councilor Johnson. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Looking for a motion to approve tonight's agenda. I'll make a motion to approve tonight's agenda. Is there a second?
Support.
Supported by Councilor Benson. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Brings us to comments and suggestions from the citizens present or watching from home. The public comment suggestion period of this meeting is when the City Council offers a time for everyone in attendance or watching from home to address the City Council. Once we move on from public comment suggestion period of the meeting, members of the public will no longer be allowed to address the council unless the mayor acknowledges you. As a general rule, the council will listen to all comments but will not comment on or respond to any comments made by speakers. The council will not engage in dialogue, however, any council member can ask questions. If you'd like to address the City Council during the public comment and suggestion period of the meeting, please come forward to the podium or dial 218-628-6289. Before you begin, please state your name and address for the meeting minutes. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Anyone addressing the City Council will be prohibited from using obscene, profane, or threatening language or boisterous conduct that disrupts the meeting or the security of the public. Is there anyone at this time that is interested in participating in the public comment and suggestion period of the meeting? Please come forward or dial 218-628-6289 and we'll give that about a minute. Well, it doesn't appear we have a phone. So, are we ready to move on in the back? Okay. Yeah, apologies, our phone is not working at the moment. So we'll move on to looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So.
Councilor Reuter made the motion. Is there a second?
Second. Was it Mr. Johnson?
Councilor Johnson made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Said by Councilor Reuter. Any further discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Dwell.
I think it's just a type glitch, but under 5 unfinished business, we should have,
St. Luke's parking.
yeah, that should be under old business or unfinished business.
Which one was that?
5C. It was on the previous. I think it just got stricken accidentally.
Thank you. We can make that addition. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. And that will bring us to 4A, the LG 510-2023 report. In your packet was the report from the gambling fund, the 10% lawful gambling contribution fund. Just looking for a motion to approve that report.
So moved.
Councilor Benson made a motion. Is there a second? I'll second that. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Brings us to 4B. Local Board of Appeals will be held April 30th, 2024 here at City Hall from 10 o'clock to whenever. They have 10 to 11, but could go longer. So it's just a reminder to put that on your calendar. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, we'll move on to 6A. Resolution 16-24, a resolution approving Minnesota Laws 2023, Chapter 64, Article 10, Section 42, allowing the city of Proctor to impose local sales tax. So we're just looking for a motion to approve the Minnesota law. I'll make the motion to approve the law. Is there a second?
Second.
Sent by Councilor Reuter. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Brings us to 6B, Resolution 17-24. A resolution adopting title and ballot language pertaining to a local option sales tax authorized by the Minnesota legislature to be submitted to the qualified voters of the city of Proctor at the general election on November 5th, 2024. So in your packet is Resolution 17-24. This doesn't have to be approved tonight if council has questions or concerns regarding the language of the question, but it would have to be approved 90 days prior to the election so they could put it on the ballot. So at the end of that resolution where it's in bold print, sales and use tax for new trail connecting to the city of Proctor, that would be the language that would be on the ballot. So looking for a motion to approve or deny. Councilor Benson.
This is more for discussion prior to, it would be my recommendation to hold it to the next meeting. I think Administrator Rich may have some additional information that could impact our decision.
Yeah, we can allow her to talk about a little bit more information, but I know there was a task force that came up with some new language and ideas, and they're looking at some different language, and they talked about putting a limit of 1% per community on sales tax, which this would, so we can let her explain all that come next meeting, if that's your motion to table.
Yes, please.
Support. Councilor Benson made a motion to table and put under unfinished business for the next meeting. It is supported by Councilor DeWall. Any further discussion on that?
I just look at, one thing I'd like to know, we don't have to go to the state for this, we just get our voters to approve it, correct?
Yes.
So is there any way that we can somehow slip in parks? We've already got our other sales tax is going to trails. And now we're saying this money's gonna go to trails. Is there any way we could,
Widen the scope of the sales tax?
even if just 0.5% went towards parks, that'd give us a bunch of money to use for parks. I just think we should think about that when we,
Yeah, no, I like the idea, and I'm not sure of whether or not we can do that, but Administrator Rich would definitely.
Yeah, they've changed and tweaked the sales tax laws, and they're proposing some new language. So I'm kind of totally confused on what the scope usually is, or will be.
Yeah. Yep, I like it.
Yeah, and as we get closer to the end of the legislative session, then we should have a better idea what laws they're going to enact or
Yeah.
impose.
Yeah, you would hope, right?
Yes.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Brings us to 6C, Resolution 18-24, declaring surplus equipment. So in your packet were a bunch of pictures of some surplus equipment from what we call the Track 7 room back by the break room. I know Ted Kiefit did go through all these items and said they weren't useful any longer. And it looks like we'd be donating anything that was of use to the Rails TV at the school. So looking for a motion to declare, or to adopt Resolution 18-24 declaring of surplus items.
So moved.
Counselor Johnson made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Reuter. Any further discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Counselor DeWall.
You had mentioned Mr. Ted Keefe. I'm assuming the commission met and discussed this?
They did meet a year or more ago, understanding that half the equipment is obsolete, the other half, we have no clue why it's even there because of old equipment. And we authorized to dispose of it or donate it just to
Clean.
clean it up.
Perfect.
I just wanted to make sure that our
Yep.
commission was involved. The only other side question,
Yeah.
because I'm reviewing these pictures and looking at them,
Yeah.
and I'm assuming that and I know our chief is not here tonight, but there's some things that look like they could potentially use some of these cords, cables, and maybe they've already went through and taken what they can use. But I would just, not that I'm opposed to cleaning up things, but as I look at some of these pictures and cable and with the chief trying to keep up with different surveillance technologies, and I know it seems like Twin Ports has been donating a bunch of stuff to help them with equipment. Just give them one shot at
Yep.
looking at things over, if that
And-
makes sense.
And Megan do you know if Chief Gaddis was involved with that?
Actually, all city staff was sent an email on this, and every department could have looked at it and had a certain deadline to take what they could find useful or what they needed. And then Jess Buse is actually also cleaning it out as well, so they'll take what they need or what they think they can use for the PD.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, I would think, the tie cords.
Oh, yeah, I see the ties.
The hard wire.
Yep. As long as they had the opportunity to look at it and deemed it
That's all
Yep.
I wanted.
perfect. Thank you. Any other discussion?
I would just be curious if there was a way we could put a price on the donation. Just so we have
Ted might be the guy
Yeah.
for that, because he kind of knows what all that equipment is. We can talk to Ted about that.
just so we have some sort of documentation on was donated and the value.
And when you do an item surplus like that, don't you have to have some sort of value to it? Or no?
I'm not sure, I'll have to check.
Okay, thank you.
And I wish we had our attorney here. But if we declare it surplus, I would refer to the attorney, but I know there's certain rules we have to abide by statutorily.
Yes.
Because when we declare something as a surplus, we have to open it up equally to everyone in the public bid per se, or do we just donate it, put a value on it and donate it to the Rails TV? I just don't want to get in trouble.
No, good point.
I know like with squad cars and different fire vehicles, we had to give everyone equal opportunity.
And I think we did with the bikes that they find, lost bikes.
So I just want to make sure we're not tripping up over good intentions. And I don't want to delay anything, but I would refer to our legal department on appropriation. But to me, it almost makes sense that I don't know how we would declare it a surplus, but we would just donate.
And especially, there might be some different rules donating to another government. We could send off a quick letter to the League of Minnesota Cities seeking their advice, and I'm sure they'll point us to the right statute.
And maybe Administrator Rich can answer this when she comes back, but I just want to make sure we're,
So we have a motion and a second on the floor to donate, accepting resolution 18-24, which I believe it says in there that we're donating it to Rails TV. Do we want to amend that motion? Do we want to table the item? What's council's pleasure on what to do with this?
If we have questions that we need answered, it wouldn't hurt to table it. It's not like this stuff's going anywhere real quick.
Right.
I'll amend my motion to
Yeah.
table it.
Then-
I'd second it.
Okay. So you heard the new motion and the new second by Councilor Johnson and Councilor Reuter to table item 6C, resolution 18-24, declaring surplus equipment. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. 6D, municipal cannabis dispensary. Councilor Benson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There is a memo in our agenda citing the background, and just to give you the Reader's Digest version, there's 50 other governments also looking at creating municipal dispensaries. Most of them have liquor stores, and they all cite similar reasons to diversify their revenue, trying to hold down property taxes, and sustaining the community character and safety, much the same reasons why we have a municipal liquor store. So, Administrator Rich was nice enough to attach what ASIO is looking at. Again, one of 50 different governments. And they cover the location and the buildings and what we expect from employees, or what they expect from employees, and the timeline. And we have probably 9-10 months before the state comes around. And every community, if you're under 12,500, there's some question whether you have to allow municipal, or not a municipal, but at least a cannabis dispensary. The way I read it is that if someone comes in, the city doesn't decide, then you got to grant them the permit. But I could be wrong on that as well. But this is just an option to kind of begin the discussion whether it wants to go through liquor control or public safety.
After reading the ASIO thing, I noticed they created an ad hoc committee with a couple councilors and their city administrator to kind of work through some of this. Not opposed to it going to liquor control, but it's kind of a different animal, so to speak. Public safety, they probably should have a seat at the table too, but I wouldn't be opposed to creating an ad hoc committee to explore and consider the potential of one. And I'll make that a motion if there's a support there.
I'll second.
Councilor Benson seconds it. Any further discussion?
And the motion is just to create a ad hoc committee of,
To explore the possibility of a municipal cannabis dispensary.
Is this one of them things that we might want to table, to get Administrator Rich here, and give us her input on it also?
I would think at least with this, she could be part of that ad hoc committee, and, there's no rush. It's not going to become feasible until 2025 if the state moves it along.
Well, is there any reason we even need to do anything right now? I mean, if we won't know exactly what's authorized until 2025, I mean, I think the general consensus seems to be that we might want to do that, but we're gonna put an ad hoc committee together, and what are they gonna decide? You know, I mean,
Well, like this Osseo one, I mean, they talked about a lot of different things, potential, security of the place or potential locations of it. I mean, a lot of things could get worked out, and I guess in my thought process was that ad hoc committee could also kind of be following what the state is doing with the cannabis industry, because that's changing daily.
well, yeah, I guess from that standpoint, I agree, you know, it wouldn't hurt to look at the building and say, where would we even put it? How would it operate with our liquor that we have there now? What kind of additional security are we gonna need? You know, things like that. So yeah, from that standpoint, I could see us looking at it, because if we decide it isn't gonna work for us, there's no sense even trying to get it.
Right. Right. And there are some concerns that we're reading through this Osseo one, the security of the building and all that kind, I mean, it'll be an expense to the city to even open one up, but the payoff might be worth it, but that's kind of, you know, what I would like to find out.
So even when you look at our proximity to Duluth, and if it's one for every 12,000 and they got 82,000 people, so if there's a half a dozen or more, is it even going to be viable?
It's a good point too.
Well, and the ones that I've been in, I went, been in one in Superior, looking around, I mean, they got a whole building full of stuff. I mean, they got the size of our liquor store
Yeah.
full of all the various things. I don't know how, you know, unless we're gonna be very restrictive as to what we're gonna sell.
Yeah. You know, and I went into one out in Michigan just to see what it was all about, and they had like a separate waiting room. You had to go in, show them your ID, then they escorted you into it. I mean, the security of the building in itself was kind of intense, so.
And I've been to one in Denver and another one in Chicago, and again, pretty similar to what you're describing as good security, extremely professionally done, a group of customers that range from, you know, your typical college kids to people in your three-piece suits. So,
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff we'd have to look at.
So there's a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion?
And that motion was to
Put an ad hoc
committee
committee
together
together
to
to
start this.
to explore the possibilities. After this, I guess I would probably like to see a motion to put people on that ad hoc committee. But if council ain't ready to do that, then we'll have to cross that some other day, but any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Would council like to entertain putting that ad hoc committee together tonight, or cross that bridge later?
I think you could rough draft it. I mean, you're looking at your city administrator, police chief, which could potentially cover public safety
Yep.
in that role, and then,
We could take two counselors and have one that sits on liquor control.
And your liquor store manager too.
yeah, I was gonna say, definitely, you'd want
Yeah.
Andy involved, because and I know they've been doing a lot of updates with security and technology there. So that would be Kent, Rich, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Benson, Mr. Reuter, Mr. Johnson, Gatus, Rich, Andy, 5.
And nothing against you two, because you're both on liquor control, right? I guess my opinion, I would like to see one on liquor control. And since Councilor Benson brought this forward,
I guess that's what I was saying, Mr. Benson, Mr. Johnson, or Mr. Benson,
Yeah.
and Reuter, whoever.
if you guys would, one of you would be interested in sitting on that.
We're trying to keep it at an odd number too, so.
Yeah. 5 is good, right? We'd have 2 counselors, our administrator, chief of police, and liquor store manager.
Do we know when the state comes down with the final product, are they gonna have, requirements in there for certain types of how it's gonna be stored and how it's gonna be secured? And
I would
Things like that.
assume so. I
so
know,
even if you decided you might have, you're gonna have to wait till then just to see if,
I would think the
can
state
get
would
that.
have more of a minimum safeguard. And probably the safeguards we come up with would be better. I just get nervous because I was trying to find it again. It says mid to late 2024, and I don't wanna be caught off guard like we did with the, what was it, the Airbnbs? We had people going for it. We didn't have any rules set up, and then we had to sunset
I
a
would-
bunch of things.
I was in a meeting this morning regarding the cannabis industry, and it sounds like it's at least a year out. So that'll be sometime in 2025.
And also, the League of Minnesota Cities and their insurance trust are involved because a lot of cities are looking towards them for guidance.
Counselor Reuter or Counselor Johnson, would one of you like to volunteer, and I'll make a motion?
you want me on it, you want me
Yeah,
on?
Counselor Johnson, so I'll make a motion to put Administrator Rich, Counselor Johnson, Counselor Benson, Liquor Store Manager Andrew, and Chief Gatus on the Ad hoc Cannabis Dispensary Committee. Is there support?
I'll support.
Counselor DeWall supports. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Oppose? Motion passes. Brings us to 6E, Ordinance 01-24, amend the winter parking, second reading. So Counselor Benson, I'll let you take the floor on this if you'd like, and I'll do the second reading.
Thank you very much. Nothing's really changed as far as the language goes. This just allows the police to conform with our other ordinances, gives them a discretion without overstepping. So I think I haven't heard any feedback other than, the police like the idea. And I would move for its passage, or you could move for its passage.
Thank
I'd
you.
recommend its passage.
Thank you. So you heard the recommendation. I'll just, before we take a second on that, the change to the 71.08 winter parking regulations under city ordinance, added language of the chief of police. In his or her discretion, or any police officer acting under the authority of the chief of police determines that weather conditions allow for on-street parking, the chief of police or police officer acting under the authority of the chief of police may direct the winter parking regulations be suspended for a certain period. So that would be the new added language to that city ordinance. Is there a second?
Second,
Second by Counselor Reuter. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
I
Oppose? Motion passes.
think we're ever gonna see that again.
What's that?
You think we're ever gonna see where we use this again?
God, I
10
hope,
years.
I hope so. It was a nice winter, Jim.
Oh, yeah.
I'd love to see it be like this, but I'm saying, I don't remember any other ones where we
No.
would have suspended it.
No, but I hope so. That will bring us to members' concerns. Counselor Reuter.
I have nothing.
Thank you. Counselor DeWall.
Nothing.
Thank you. Counselor Johnson.
nothing.
Thank you. Counselor Benson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to acknowledge the fine, outstanding job Deputy Mayor DeWall did during the State of the City. He got the only laugh. He got the biggest round of applause, in part because it was the shortest speech. So it was nice that the Duluth mayor dropped by, and again, that DeWall did the city proud. So thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. I would like to add that too. Thanks to Deputy Mayor for delivering the State of the City speech. He did a wonderful job, and you can watch it on YouTube if you missed it, check it out. One other thing, the fire department is holding a bingo at the Buffalo House on Saturday, April 13th, 2024, starting, I believe, at 5 p.m. So if you can make that, please come out and support our local fire department. That'll bring us to bills for approval. Looking for a motion to pay the bills in the amount of $79,369.34.
So moved.
Counselor Reuter made the motion, seconded by Counselor Johnson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Looking for a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Counselor DeWall made a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? I'll second that. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Thank you.